Hello everybody and welcome to What If Asta Had Creation Magic. I'm not going to make his creation magic too overpowered. He can create other forms of magic, but I'm going to nerf it quite a lot and you'll see when the video progresses. So we're going to start off with Asta. He's just chilling in Hajj, doing his push-ups and everything. This is like the like a couple days, or like when the Grim ceremony is happening or going to happen. So he's just training, and he has a mana. When Father Horus found him, he was like flooded with mana, like sort of like but he had like way more than Um, but now like his mana's so big, no one can sense it unless you're like on a captain's level. And then Asta's gonna have a flashback at this moment. It's flashback to when he was only 7, which I think is when everyone gets their magic. Asta was there seeing what else he could do with his magic other than create toys for the orphanages, for the orphanages. Yeah, he was seeing what he could do, and he found out he could create small, sort of golem creatures, sort of like creatures from the ground, and give them their own personality, and also command them to do whatever he wants. So he thought he also had a affinity for earth magic, which isn't true. Asta would then go on to create other things like weapons, like really sharp weapons, a sword that can cut through a tree with literally like no effort whatsoever. And then he thought, well, if he can create all of this stuff, then could he create magic? And so he tried. He tried and tried for days with no success until actually also unlocked his magic. Unlocked his a little bit later than Asta. So yeah, unlocked his magic, which was wind, and Asta tried to create wind, and when he did, and after like a week or so, he actually succeeded. He created wind magic, and it didn't come with it. It didn't come 3, obviously. When he first created his wind magic, his arms shredded. Like there was cuts all over his arms, and he was bleeding profusely. And Sister Lily and Father Orsi gave him strict instructions to never use that again, otherwise he's missing out on meals for a week. And when Asta was fully healed, he trained his arms. He trained and trained until he was 14. I'm aging them up in this. They're going to be 18. Just because I feel like it's just an easier age to ride them as, really. So I'm keeping the captains relatively the same and aging up everyone else by... No, I'll make him 16. So when Asta's 14, he tries to create fire magic, and he completes it on his second try. But he got burns this time, but they weren't as bad as his first injury, and they healed within a couple days thanks to Sister Lily's help. And they both let it slide. Well, they gave him punishment, they gave him less food, but they let it slide because he wasn't as injured as he was before, which is their main concerns. And now we'll go back to the present time. Asta was spacing out throughout all of this and made it to the entrance of the Grimoire ceremony. And he entered to see getting his grimoire, his 4-leaf grimoire, and not really sensing Asta, but could tell he was there, turned around and said, "I'm going to be the Wizard King." which made Asta smile and have another flashback to when they was 4, and Asta just had a bad feeling, so he followed to no, it's when the 7, when Asta first unlocked his magic. He followed to the village, so then he could make a deal with the hand something over to the I think it's the I can't remember what it's called. I think it's the mayor of the town or something. The mayor of the town or the village chief or whatever, and for food. And got confronted by a drunk man who tried taking his pendant, and the drunk man kicked and RG Asta came in like, haha, no, bitch, and cut the guy's chest wide open. The guy was hurt, and if he didn't get that scene too, he was going to die. So he went running and dropped the pendant for Asta to run and pick it back up, and then not give it to he just grabbed and started running as well. And they made it home safely. Asta told Father and Sister Lily what had happened, which she got reprimanded for, and also praised for, because this was round about the time. This was when Asta unlocked it. Asta unlocked it, seeing get hurt. This was the first time Asta shown any form of having magical talent. Although he had massive mana, his mana didn't feel like warm or cold or whatever. I'm gonna say like mana has a certain feeling depending on what your magical affinity is. His mana just felt neutral, but also it felt like everything at the same time. So they could, like, he was an anonymous. You know what I'm saying. Asta was kind of like strange, just like in the original, but like with mana this time. So Asta would get brought out of this by a golden glowing light that appeared in front of him. And it's not a 4-leaf this time. It's going to be a 7-leaf or 6-leaf. I'll go with 6. It will be a 6-leaf grimoire. And it will have a beautiful golden design. I don't have a picture, but it will have a beautiful golden design. And Asta and everyone would be amazed. And the wizard that was there, I'm going to say he knows what this grimoire is. He'd be shocked. He'd actually be shaking and thinking like, wow, the world has another one walking among us. I'm sorry. I'm going to go commit death. Then we go to the 6 months training. Asta, he'd train quite a lot, and he'd also create 2 more magical abilities. One of them is the magic of his idol, which is the Wizard King, the first Wizard King. Asta idolizes the first Wizard King because I'm gonna say near the demon school there's ruins of a castle, and Asta found them, and he also found a bunch of the first Wizard King's journals, stuff he wrote, and things he wanted for the future. And Asta idolized the Wizard King and what he stood for. And so Asta was like, yeah, first Wizard King, best Wizard King. Because if you read the manga, you know that while Julius is a good guy, he's also not at the same time. So yeah, it's 6 month training. Asta's got 2 new magics. Light magic, which is I've kind of spoiled. I wanted to keep them secret, but I'm gonna keep the last one secret because it's going to be kind of I'd say kind of broken, but I don't really have an idea of what it actually is going to be. I might just leave it for part 2 when I reveal it, when I actually find out where it is. Or I might just make it like a sort of a limitless thing, like what Gojo has. If you guys want that, then leave it in the comments. If anyone sees this, probably no one. So yeah, Asta's gonna be traveling to the Clover Kingdom with Yuno after he says goodbye to everyone. Or Father Orsi, who's like crying and like not wanting his 2 precious children to leave. But yeah, they leave. Asta's just chilling, not really like trying to get there quick, because he knows that if they walk, they'll make it. But Yuno's like, "Oh, come on, Asta, we've got to get there quick so we can take in the sights." I'm changing Yuno's personality a little bit. He's gonna be more charismatic, sort of. He's gonna like actually enjoy things and show more emotion. And he's going to obviously want to look around a place he's never been. Asta's just there chilling like, come on, we can look around after we've become Magic Knights, so let's just take it slow for now. Sighing in defeat because he knows that against Asta he'd never win, would just agree and just walk beside Asta, just chilling. When Asta gets an idea, he'd like try his best to gather information on the leaders or the captains of each squad, and he'd find that he'd find William's magic interesting, so he'd create a version of it. His version is going to be better because he's going to be able to sap and also. It's going to be able to sap life force as well as mana. I say better, that sounds kind of cruel, but he's probably going to need it in the future. So he'd create one stronger than Williams. It also creates brooms that need literally no mana to use. So someone with literally the worst mana control could fly a broom. Like Noel could fly this broom like really easily, and it's also really fast. Like the brooms are really fast, just pouring a tiny bit of mana in. And because Asta just wanted to like sleep for a little bit, he'd create them. So he'd create 2 brooms, and instead of going like a couple nights without sleep, Asta would just sleep for like 3 days, and then the day of the Magic Night ceremony, him and who were about at the halfway point, would get on the broom and just fucking zoom. They'd be gone, leaving literally like, for any nearby travellers that were close by, they'd just hear a boom, and then they just get hit by a massive like chunk of gale force wind, knocking them off the feet. And as still looking back and seeing all the people like fly in the air because of the wind he kicked up from going that fast, he'd just chuckle a bit and then look forward, which they'd see the capital coming up right really quick, which is when he'd use his magic again and get rid of Yuno's broom, panicking Yuno a bit, making him fall, but he catches himself with his wind before Asta disperses his broom and lands right next to Yuno. Walking up to the gates, they'd get let in after showing the gate guards the grimoire, and then they went to go get the numbers. Asta would go first, showing his grimoire to the reception guy, who would literally just marvel at its beauty for like 10 minutes, and Asta's just been trying to get his attention, like, yo, give me my grimoire, bro. and he'd snap out of him like, "Oh, sorry, you're number 69. Yeah, I'm doing that." And he'd do the same with although he wouldn't look at it for too long because it's just like a normal grimoire, but like four leaf and green. Um, so he'd give his number 67. Nothing funny there, and then they'd go in. Like the moment Asta stepped foot, the captains were watching like the stadium. The moment Asta stepped foot inside the stadium, all the anti-magic birds that were bothering the people in the stadium would fly off, and the captains looking at the entrance would be at awe because, as I've said previously, not previously, like a couple minutes ago, Asta's magic could only be sensed by people on a captain's level. So, while not there, he's close. He's about like vice captain level, and he can somewhat sense it, but not really at the same time. Um, and also, he's gonna be still in the Golden Dawn, and this time he's gonna quickly move up the ranks and become vice captain instead of it taking like too many fucking episodes. Because let's face it, Yuno's the strongest character, one of the strongest characters, like in general. I think could body at least one captain, and would just be chilling. He'd look at Asta like, "Wow, I think you killed a bird," because there'd just be like one dead bird that was like the closest to Asta when he walked in. I'm gonna say Asta's mana is too big, like for the bird to handle, and shocked it and killed it. It was an old bird, and Nero, looking at Asta, kind of scared to go near him, but like would know this kid's going places. This kid is something else. She could practically sense the pureness inside Asta. Like, Asta wouldn't hurt anyone if not given a good enough reason to. Like, the people who isn't flying when he was on his broom, they were okay. That was just a bit of a laugh. Asta likes pulling pranks occasionally. She'd know that Asta would like lay down his life for his friends, and just like he's just super chill. She'd see the first Wizard King inside Asta, not sensing his mana because she's nowhere near captain level, not sensing his mana, but she could tell like Asta was like a spitting image of the first Wizard King. I'm gonna make them related, which would mean Asta is royal family, well, royalty. I think the first Wizard King is actually part of the main royal family anyway. I'm not too sure. So yeah, Asta is royalty, but no one knows this, and Asta's mother had a special disease. She's not gonna have like the curse of or the ability to steal life force and mana. She's just gonna have like a curse, but it kills her when she gives birth, or like a couple of days after she gives birth. So she had to give Asta up away really quickly. And yeah, so like, the captains were astonished. More Captain Vengeance than anything because of Paltry that's inside of him. Paltry, like, this guy's not an elf reincarnate. Why does he have so much mana? Why is he so loved by mana? And he'd just be really confused and questioning his life so far. So we go to the first few tests. Asta would just fucking breeze through them. He's an expert at flying, and that's all that's really needed, really. He'd create his own broom, which would surprise everyone, even William, because he used the same magic as William. And he'd fly with that. Um, he'd use light magic when doing the targets. And then it comes to the PvP area, PvP, the fighting match. Asta would still get approached by a noble who thinks he's a big shot. Well, yeah, every noble. Asta would get approached by a noble, and that noble is not walking anytime soon because Asta fucking bodies him. Asta used the mystery magic he has and absolutely bodies him. Like, no question. It got to the point that the noble wouldn't give up. Asta didn't knock him out because he didn't want to be a dick, but he'd scare the noble so bad that he actually shot himself. And it got to the point where the father of the noble, who was about vice captain level, actually jumped in and tried attacking Asta, which then got the captains to act. They seized him and actually arrested him. And while he wouldn't stay like that for long because he's a noble, he's going to be important soon. Or maybe, I don't know, probably. So Asta would just like look at him and like, yo, you really don't want to start this, bro. To which the captains would then look at Asta like, bro, you have a lot of magic, but he's somewhat experienced. And I'm like, I was like, haha, I don't give a shit. I could body you like the fucking captains too. To which two captains would get pretty pissed at this, while the others just think he was pretty arrogant. Nozel would get pissed, and the captain of the Purple Augurs. And everyone else was just like, oh, this guy's gonna get fucked. And like, Nozel walked up to Asta, releasing his mana, his pressure, and Asta would be like, what the fuck is this? This is like weak as shit, bro. Because Asta, like, what Asta didn't know was he went against Julius at one point. Julius was just sensed a massive like surge of power like round Hajj area like a long time ago, and went to go check it out and found Asta training. Asta would have been 16 at the time, no, 15 at the time, and then Asta who could tell that this guy was strong, didn't know he was the Wizard King but could tell he was strong, challenged him, like all out challenge, like no holding back, which Julius was hesitant at first, but seeing the determination in Asta's eyes was like, okay, good, I'll intrigue you for now. And so that happens. Asta would fight Julius, and Julius would get bodied. Asta was just too fast for him, because he learned a type of magic anyone could use, which is body enhancement magic. And with the amount of mana Asta has, he could enhance his body for an entire year and still have enough mana to fight all the captains. He wouldn't win, but he'd knock a few of them out. I think Yami and Vengeance would be the only ones still standing with Asta after all that. I know Asta's going to be over fucking powered. Don't come at me. Asta will be holding back. He'll actually find an item inside the I'm not going to spoil anything. But yeah, Asta is going to be really overpowered in this, and that's because I like overpowered Asta. And I also like calm Asta, because loud, annoying Asta fucking pisses me off. I know that's what it's supposed to be like, but So yeah, Julius then reveals his identity to Asta after all that, and now we get back to our current state. So Asta, everyone's done. Asta's beaten his opponent. Oh wait, no. Asta was actually facing off against Nozel, and Asta started releasing his own pressure, which started making Nozel sweat. And then Nozel did something no one had expected. He bowed to Asta and apologized. He got on his hands and knees and apologized sincerely to Asta. And Noel, seeing this, was fucking shocked. Asta also sensed the curse Nozel had, which started the whole yes, my sister is the reason my mum's dead thing, and removed it for both of them. And Nozel, sensing this, because it was in his own body, Nozel sensing that the curse was gone, actually had to leave really quick. He went up to his sister and actually hugged her. No one could see this, but he hugged her and started crying and told her everything. So that's new. That's something you haven't nothing. Something hasn't happened in the entire manga. Well, it has happened in the manga, I think. I can't remember. So yeah, Nozel's curse is gone, so we can actually tell the truth now. He takes Noel to the Silver Eagles and tells Yami that Nozel won't be in his squad anymore, and that he's going to take her on in his squad, which Yami was like, okay, I don't care. When Nozel literally just left, not even bothered voting, he left. I'm going to say that Solid isn't the vice captain and it's someone else. He left his vice captain there to try and get some new squad members, but he needed to tell Solid and I think it's Nabura about everything and how he lied to them pretty much because he had no choice. And so he did. Solid and Nabura really didn't want to believe it, mainly because they really couldn't believe anything else what they've been told. But we moved to the selections, and Asta gets every hand, obviously, and he picks, surprisingly, something I don't think anyone has done. He's going to pick the Coral Peacocks. Why? Because I like Dorothy's character when she's awake. When she was in the dream world, I like her character. So I'm going to make it a ship. Dorothy is only going to be 20 in this. Yeah, I know, kind of sus, 16 and 20-year-old, but the legal age of consent in the UK is 16, so that's what I'm doing it as. And plus, their relationship's not going to evolve much until the 2 year time skip, which I'm going to have a lot sooner than in canon. So, everything really goes the same after this. Asta would actually get a lot more missions, and until the dungeon mission, Asta would go to the dungeon mission, run into and the rest of the Golden Dawn, and Noel from the Silver Eagles, because Silver Eagles got this mission. The Black Bulls didn't get this mission this time because there was no one really of importance in the Black Bulls to actually give this mission to. Everyone in the Black Bulls stayed the same. And so Asta would, he'd sense everyone who was there, all the Diamond Mages, he'd sense them all, and he'd create a spell then and there that could teleport him to each place. And then he thought of an even better idea. While he had already created the spell, he'd thought, why not try and create Julius's magic, time magic. And while he knew Julius had a devil inside of him, or a devil-possessed soul inside of him, it wasn't really his problem. The whole removal of the curse from Nozel was accidental. He didn't know his mana could do that. And yes, that was just his mana. That was his mana pressure on Nozel that did that. And so he created it. He created time magic, which gave him the idea, if I can create time magic, what other magic could I create? So he tried, and he created both star and gravity magic, all in the span of an hour walking to where the enemy is. Once he'd finally reached the enemy, he'd be like, oh wow, I spent an hour trying to create this magic, all this magic. Okay, his mana is nearly depleted, it takes a lot of magic. And that's all the spells he's going to create, mainly because that's the limit I'm putting it on. So he can't create anything else unless he finds a certain item, which then will allow him, unless he uses the powers of the magic stones, which will then allow him to create one more spell, or one more magic. So Asta would defeat the mist guy and just leave him there, knocked out. And then he'd sense something strange happening. Klaus and Mimosa, the mana was draining rapidly. Him getting concerned would actually run there as fast as he could. I don't know anyone from the Purple Orcas in the anime, so I'm just going to say it's just Asta on his own, mainly because he's proved his strength to Dorothy, and has actually is actually going to become the vice captain. It's not going to be until a little while. So Asta would run, he'd make it there and see just barely holding off a diamond mage with 2 magical affinities. And he remembered something in the first Wizard King's book about an experiment he's trying to do where he can successfully give someone 2 magical affinities, but it was proven inhumane in his eyes, so he called it all off. And knowing that the Wizard King said it was humane, Asta would be like, okay, he's been through shit. So trying Asta would be he'd put the weight of, I'd say, a building on Mars, and Mars was struggling to move, but he could still move. He could still launch attacks and everything. And so Asta upped it. He upped it to a castle, and Mars was just getting crushed at this point. Like a building, like a house, yeah, easy pickings when he's in his like diamond armor, being healed by his fire. But when a castle's on you, I don't know what the fuck you can do, but like, damn. So like, he tried. He really did. He poured as much mana as he can into his armor to at least try and move a little bit, but he just couldn't, and eventually blacked out due to the stress and mana exertion, leaving Asta and everyone else, well, Asta to go up and heal everyone using his tree magic. So with everyone healed, they went and got as much treasure as they can. Asta used his time magic to get a carriage and a horse and get multiple carriages and horses and put all the gold and whatever the hell they could find in the carriages and brought them all back to the Wizard King. Which the Wizard King was surprised. Asta had his magic, because Asta showed him, and the Wizard King was kind of surprised, like, Asta had his magic, like, what the fuck? And which means things are going to go a bit differently, because that means Julius's counterpart, Astaroth, I think, cannot use his time magic to fuck up the present, or like to make everything go his own way, because Asta would put an end to that and be like, no. But I'm gonna make that happen anyway. I'm gonna have Astaroth's time magic be stronger than Asta's, because Asta created with very little mana. He used less mana than he did with the rest, so it's a lot weaker than Astaroth's, but that means Astaroth's magic will not work on Asta though. No matter how hard he tries, it won't work on Asta because of the secret magic Asta has, which I'm just gonna say it's limitless. Asta has full control of the galaxy, which means like Asta's just fucking good. Since he has gravity magic, time magic, star magic, and limitless, which is, I can't remember what it is in Jujutsu Kaisen. I think it's I know his Infinite Void gives him information of literally everything. Like, he overloads his brain with information, or overloads his opponent's brain with information. But it's a galaxy sort of theme, you know, so I'm just going to stick with that. And I'm going to say, because of limitless, time magic will not work on Asta. This is practically a fucking what if Asta was Gojo's reincarnation. And, well, I also forgot to mention, Asta is going to be tall in this. He's going to be taller than Yuno. He's going to be like 6'2", 6'3". Because I'm 6'2", so I thought, like, why not? Let's go with 6'2", 6'3". So Asta's going to be taller than Yuno. Yuno's going to be like 5'11", 5'10". So, yeah, Yuno's 5'10", 5'11". And Yuno sees Asta as a big brother, and seeing Asta defeat enemies so easily just drives Yuno to try his best at everything else. And Yuno does. Yuno tries his best, and once this mission was over, Yuno went straight to training, which everyone apart from Klaus and Mimosa just tried talking down to Yuno. They'd be like, oh, you'll never live up to anything, yada yada yada. And William Herring, I forgot the vice captain's name, Aliadora. William heard Aliadora, and Aliadora was saying some really, really mean stuff to you, like how he's trash, how that's all he's ever going to be, and how he's from the sticks, his family's nothing, they're probably going to die, and everything, and he revokes Alidora's vice captain status and temporarily gives it to Klaus because he's a senior. He's been there longer, so he temporarily gives it to Klaus. And then it's the awardance ceremony. And this Asta is promoted to a senior Magic Knight, and I think so is Leopold and Solid. And Asta had gained around about 30 stars for the I think it's Coral Peacocks. I can't remember which the squad name again for the Coral Peacocks. And Dorothy was happy about this, as well as Asta's ranking, because her vice captain left. He retired a little while ago, so she had no vice captain, and she needed a new one. And so when he got back to the base, which is a castle full of pillows. That's literally all it is. It's just a castle full of pillows. Full of pillows, stuffed animals, and sweets. That's literally all the base is. So once he got there, Dorothy went up to him and Dorothy had everyone gather in the main area. And she was awake for this, which was surprising, but also had everyone put on guard because she's never awake for anything unless it's super important. And she'd announced that Asta is going to be the new vice captain, and this pissed off all of the nobles that were there. There wasn't many, but there was still quite a few, and there were a few commoners there. But this pissed off all the nobles because they'd been trying to get that position for ages, but just couldn't get the promotion. And Dorothy knew some people were really pissed off, so she confronted people about it and was like, well, you guys don't work well as a team. The nobles think they're better than commoners, and whilst I'm from a noble family, I don't treat commoners differently. I respect them as what they are, and that's human beings. And Asta hearing this was like, wow, I didn't know she was a noble, and she respects us for being human. Like, holy hell, why isn't everyone like her? And shortly after, there'd be a meeting of captains about a new group called the Eye of the Midnight Sun. They heard tales about this from most of the Magic Knights going on missions and staying nights at bars and stuff. And they'd heard stories about an organisation called the Eye of the Midnight Sun. And the people who actually brought this to the attention was the newest member of the Black Bulls, Nero. I think her real name's Swallow or something. Can't remember. I'm just going to call her Nero. And Nero brought this to the attention after hearing it from a group of mages that went to attack a small village. And one of them, there was the suicide attempt. One of them still survived, but barely, so they had to get him back real quick and healed so they could interrogate him. And they also think that there's a traitor within the captains, so they went down with Max to see the memories. But the thing is, the memories was locked. So, and though there was no way of actually getting it because Asta didn't have the anti-magic sword, so there's no way of unlocking it other than Hollow or Nero. Um, because of her magic, I think it's she can unlock anything. So she unlocked the spell that would bind their memories. I think she can unlock and seal anything. So she used the spell to unbind the memories. So I think it's Marx can see in the memories, and they'd find out it was the captain of the Purple Orcas. He'd been giving away information of the capital, like all their weak spots and stuff, to the enemy, which is the Iron Midnight Sun. They now have confirmation on the name, which they didn't before. They just had speculations, but they now have confirmation that the name is the Eye of the Midnight Sun. Asta would be pretty pissed at this because, and look at the man and say to him, like dead in the eye, the first Wizard King gave his life for this country. How dare you disgrace his name this way? And Nero, hearing this, would look at Asta wide-eyed, and the first Wizard King would be like, how do you know this, child? Asta. And Asta would go in his pockets and say, well, I'm from Haj, where the giant demon skull is. And it's also where the first Wizard King had a little tower to do his research in. And I found this note, this journal. There's something in here for like someone called Swallow or something, but she's probably dead now. The Wizard King would read this while the captain of the Purple Orcas being detained, and the Wizard King would find interest in this and put it at the back of his head to go visit it later while giving the book back to Asta. On their way out, Dorothy would tell Asta would get some reward money, and so would Nero, for their help in everything, because Asta's the one that took down the Coral Peacock guy, the Purple Orcas, because he tried getting away using invisible magic and had a little army that was invisible. So he beat them. He apprehended them and threw them in the slammer, which Julius smiled at Asta and said thank you. And then we go to the exit. Dorothy would hand Asta the reward money he got and say, go out and treat yourself, get some new clothes and stuff. To which Asta would agree. He'd be like, these clothes are getting pretty old now and getting pretty tighter because of his new training regime. And this is where Sarah would walk up to him once Dorothy is gone and explain her entire story, how she was a maid of the first Wizard King, but using forbidden magic turned her into an anti-magic bird and made her live for over 500 years. Asta listening to this would be like gobsmacked, like, what the fuck am I listening to? But he could tell she wasn't lying, just due to like the seriousness in her eyes, and she'd ask if she could have the book. She would, and because she would like to see what the first Wizard King wrote for her. I can't remember the first Wizard King's name. But in the book, it just basically told her that he had a feeling something like what's happened had happened, and told her just to, once she's finally free of the curse placed upon herself, to live a fulfilling life and to make new friends. He also told her how he truly felt and how he loved her, and how he's glad his last moments were beside of her. Not gonna be his last moments, but they are still gonna be like side by side. Naro, crying at this, would actually smile for like the first time, and she'd thank Asta, and Asta would tell her to keep it because it's not his and it's not his property. He can't actually have it, and if she knew him personally, it's better in her hands than it is his. So she'd keep it. She'd at least have something to remember the first Wizard King by. So she was happy at that. Asta then went on and bought some clothes until he'd run into something vile. He'd run into a redhead who was about to get violated by a fat drunk man. Asta, being the guy he is in both canon and now, would stop it where it started. Asta would freeze the man in a time bubble, which everyone nearby, thinking, "Oh, Julius is here," would gather around to see what's happening. The fat drunk man would turn out to be a noble of the Purple Orcas. No, I don't know. He's just a noble. I'm gonna say he's the father of the guy who has to be, and Asta would get really pissed seeing the state the red-headed woman was in, and Asta would proceed to beat the ever-living shit out of the noble. And he'd send him running home. He wouldn't actually do anything, mainly because he knows if he tried, then he'd just get let out again because his family would pay the prison guards off. And so he'd just let him go, and he'd give the old clothes he was wearing to the woman, who would introduce herself. I think her name was Rebecca. She would introduce herself as Rebecca and say thank you a bunch, and Asta would walk her home just so nothing like that happens again. Asta would get so many stares because he used the Wizard King's magic, and everyone would be whispering is he somehow related to the Wizard King? I mean, look at those clothes, they're not too expensive. They're not the poor people clothes, but they're not noble clothes. So everyone would just be confused as to who Asta was. But then they'd notice he's got a coral peacock robe on, to which they'll be like, he must be a noble from the coral peacocks then, which would confuse everyone, because if he had the Wizard King's magic, wouldn't he be in the Golden Dawn, or personally being trained by the Wizard King himself? And so Asta took Rebecca to her house, to which her siblings were worried because it was quite late and she'd be back by now normally. So she'd ensure that they were okay, that she's okay and perfectly fine. And we skipped to the next day. Asta's going around the town again until he's confronted by a man in a robe asking him to follow him, which Asta could tell there's hidden motives because, well, it's a man in a robe that he doesn't know coming to ask him to follow him, but he does it anyway. And that's where he is in I think it's Damnatio's courtroom. Damnatio tries to have him executed for the harassment of a noble, But that's when Julius Novachrono and Marx enters the room, just before Asta was about to like punt Dan Matteo. He was literally just going to fucking punt him through a wall until the Wizard King came in. And actually, the Wizard King came in with a few guards, and the guards grabbed the fat noble, kneeling him down in the courtroom, and then displayed on full screen his actions. All the nobles there was like, well, he's a noble, he should get to do whatever he wants. To which the Wizard King actually screamed. He screamed at all the nobles there, saying, like, stuff like this should not go on. We are human, and humans should stick together because we're stronger as a group than separate. Like, you go, Julius. And then a large boom is heard in the centre of the city, and this is where we have our first attack of the Eye of the Midnight Sun. Zombies and everything come barging in. There's a few nobles killed, but Asta and the Wizard King quickly take care of the rest. Which is when both Asta and the Wizard King are taken. Well, Asta is taken somewhere else, not the Wizard King. Julius, having a good grasp where he is, tries to get there as quick as he can. But then when he gets there, he'd notice Asta sitting on a pile of corpses. And then a guy in front of him, bloodied and beaten. The guy in front of him is Paltry, or as he's been saying, his name is Licht. So the guy's there like, oh yeah, I'm Licht, I know light magic. Pew pew. Asta, we go to the fight against Licht. Asta, well, first off, actually, Julius asked Asta what the hell happened, to which Asta was like, well, when I got teleported, this guy and these other robed figures came at me. The guy used light magic, so I beat him at his own game and used light myself. Also, Asta can use two magics at once, by the way. He's taught himself to use both Limitless and light magic. I'm going to say Limitless is also like reverse red, reversal red, whatever blue, hollow purple, and everything else. But without the strain on the eye, without the strain, so he doesn't need to cover his eyes because he doesn't have 6 eyes. Unless you want me to give him 6 eyes, because it is technically like, although separate ability, also like coincides with Limitless. So if you want me to give him 6 eyes, I'll give him 6 eyes. But he beats Paltry, but then Paltry suddenly just disappears through a black portal, to which they get back to the Clover Kingdom to see everything pretty much clearing up, but a Fagolion with a missing arm, and he's knocked out, and yeah, we all know he's not going to wake up for like at least like fucking shit ton of episodes. And so that's going to be the end of this video. If you like it, please do leave a like. If you want me to do more, I will. I'm sorry if I'm quiet. I'm recording this at like 1 in the morning. Well, started at 12. But yeah, it was pretty late when it started. If you do want me to do more, please do leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I'll do more. Yeah, it's just a black screen for now. I couldn't find any good images, and I'm not that great of an online drawer because I don't have a drawing pad. If I got one of them, I'd probably like draw my own custom images for you. But yeah, if you do want more, please say so. I'll try and get better at editing so that I can edit most of my mistakes out, and also like put together a decent thumbnail for you. I am using Filmora, so I'm gonna try and learn through that, and then hopefully once I start kicking things off again, like releasing more videos and stuff, I can at least interest you guys. If you enjoyed